We are awaiting President Trump to make remarks at the Department of Homeland Security. This, as moments ago, President Trump signing an executive order to begin building the wall on the southern border and increase the number of agents policing that border. There was also a ceremonial signing in with the Vice President Pence, of DHS Secretary John Kelly. Katherine Timpf is a columnist for the National Review. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio talk show host. Both are Fox News contributors. Ladies, thanks for joining us. You know, I was interested to see a recent Pew poll talking about what Americans care about, because the wall. That was always the thing people are talking about. But when you look at it, only 39% of those polled by Pew thought that the wall was maybe the most important. 73% thought that preventing immigrants here illegally from receiving government benefits if unqualified. That was way higher on the list, Leslie. What do you think?
I think it comes down to it's the economy, stupid. And
right.
It all ties into that. It does tie into money. This all ties into money. Before I came on, you said something, and I was like, yes. Why do people come here?
Yeah.
For a better opportunity, money. Why do people come here illegally? For a better opportunity, money.
Yeah.
Money. You got to stop dangling the carrot of opportunity in the form of jobs. And then when we just look at this, what I'm seeing is that what we're hearing through the press secretary and the president and through tweets with regard to immigration, he is not echoing the sentiments of the American people, because they're concerned about money and our people taking away for where their tax dollars are going, which is a system that they perceive as having too many people with their hand out, and they don't feel that people who are not here legally should have that.
Kat, I mean, it's a totally different way of looking at this, rather than it being about border enforcement and walls and those kind of things, which speak to national security. I mean, to be fair, that is also about terrorists coming into the country, posing as immigrants, and that's scary in and of itself. But one of the main things that people think about is the financial aspect, whether it's inviting people here for the economic opportunity of work or of our system and getting benefits, whether it's schools, walking into a hospital. That's an important piece.
Well, that you can feel your checkbook every day on the day-to-day and how it affects you. So, of course, that's something that you're going to be concerned about. And in terms of the wall, that's going to be something very expensive. And there's really no indication, other than what Trump says, that Mexico would ever pay for it. So
I mean, that's another issue.
I'm just saying there's no indication. So that's another financial thing.
Totally disagree with you, but we're going to talk about that later. There's ways to get it done, but go ahead.
But so that's something you feel on the day-to-day. And in terms of refugees, immigration, that's these larger issues that people need to study. People know what's happening in their own checkbook, and they know that they want more money rather than less, and they don't want to be paying for things that they don't have to be paying for people who are here illegally, or if there would be a drain on the system like that.
Leslie, I mean, don't you think a lot of Americans, they're not xenophobes, they're not uncaring about people who come into this country from somewhere else, who have a hard life and are looking for the American dream, because after all of our families pretty much almost came from somewhere else. But when you're talking about precious resources, you know, whether it's in your community, you pay taxes for your school system, for health care, for all these things, and then someone comes in and they're getting that for free, that angers Americans.
It does anger them, but when we look at the numbers, obviously the overwhelming majority of people who are getting anything from our benefits and tax dollars are Americans, whether they were born here or whether they came here legally. So I think some of their fear is based on some hype, you know, that whether they got it through Google or somewhere online, or even, you know, just ramblings. Look, I live in California, right? We have the largest undocumented worker population. And for many, I think it is regional, because in Southern California, that may be a concern, but it's something they're willing to work with, because almost everybody knows somebody whose grandmother may have come here illegally, and they don't want 2 generations beneath her to be deported. I do think that it ties into regional as well as economic.
Okay. In the meantime, President Trump also promising a major nationwide investigation into alleged voter fraud. This as the White House faces questions over the president's claim that 3 to 5 million illegal immigrants voted in November elections. Katherine, this is one of those classic Trump showdowns. So he says something like, we can't let people in from countries where there's likely to be terror, because they'll show up as refugees and then become terrorists. And people said what a racist he was, and then all of a sudden that started happening. It feels like another one of those arguments where he says something, the New York Times calls him a liar in a headline. Now, instead of backing away, he's doubling down. He wants to do an investigation. Does he turn out, does there end up being a thread here that's true, that's provable, and we look back and say he was onto something, or no?
Well, we'll find out. I see nothing wrong with him saying that there'll be an investigation. I think it's a great political response to people saying, oh, that's not true or that's not true. I think that voter fraud can be, it does happen. I think it's been overstated by people, including Trump. But he's just saying, all right, well, then let's investigate it. I don't see why anyone would have a problem with him doing that. I think it's an important thing, and we should investigate it. Why not?
What do you think about the fact out of the gate you have the media calling the president a liar? With that, I mean, my kids aren't allowed to use that word, but then again, they're not allowed to use so many of the words that have come up in this election. I mean, politics isn't for the faint of heart, but it's still a newspaper putting it in print. It's a lot.
Well, yeah, but it's also something the American people, I think, felt like, look, I have never seen before so fast after an election, and I'm a Democrat, Republicans on Twitter that are saying, this is not what I elected you for. I don't care how many people voted for Hillary versus you. You won. You got the job. Now do the job. And I do think this is a political response. The reality is the original statement had to do with undocumented or illegal immigrants voting in millions. So it's beyond an exaggeration. State by state, I just saw before we came on a tweet from the state of Ohio that says, we've done our own investigation regarding voter fraud in this state. We haven't found it here. And this is something many Republicans want the states to handle that. All of the research that I have seen, even that spans 14 years, they just don't find his statement to be true. Do we want our tax dollars, if we're talking money, paying for that as well?
It feels like a clever political move. He's doing this for a reason, to get people biting on this topic.
Or maybe to divert them from
something else. Yeah, well, we'll see. Interesting stuff, ladies. Thanks to both of you. So we are waiting for President Trump to speak at the Department of Homeland Security, where moments ago Trump signing executive orders on immigration and border security. What this means for illegal aliens with a criminal background.